She offered her last few coins for a sandwich. But the man who watched from the next table stood up, shaking, because he recognized something he hadn't seen in 20 years. It was just past lunchtime at a small roadside diner, the kind of place where the napkins were always folded uneven, and the staff knew most customers by name. Outside, the rain had just started, dotting the windows with soft taps. Inside, a young girl stood near the counter, soaked to the bone, holding out 4 crumpled coins in her tiny fist. "I just need a sandwich," she whispered to the waiter, barely loud enough to hear. She looked about 8. Dirty sneakers, damp sleeves, cheeks flushed from the cold. The waiter, a teenage boy in an apron 2 sizes too big, looked toward the kitchen, unsure. "That's not enough, sweetheart," he said gently. "A sandwich is $5. The girl's lip trembled. "I haven't eaten since yesterday. Please, you can keep the coins." At the next table over, a man paused mid-bite. His name was Calvin, quiet, older, dressed in a worn blazer that barely hinted at the wealth behind his calm demeanor. He looked over slowly. The sight of her, it hit him hard. The waiter tried again. "I'm sorry, I really am, but I can't. I'll pay for her," Calvin said, rising from his seat, voice thick with emotion. The girl looked up, startled. The waiter blinked. "Oh, sure, yeah, of course." Calvin stepped forward, kneeling so he was eye level with the girl. "Where's your family?" he asked. The girl stared at her shoes. "It's just me now." And then she pulled something from her pocket. A small photo, wrinkled, almost torn. She handed it to him. Calvin's hands shook as he looked at it, a black and white picture of a woman smiling, holding a baby. His breath caught, because the woman in the photo was the same woman who had once saved him. Calvin stared at the photo like it had frozen time. His fingers trembled as he traced the edge of the woman's face. Her name was Marcy. He hadn't seen her in over 2 decades. Not since the winter night she found him sleeping behind a bus terminal with frost-bitten fingers and no shoes. She'd given him a blanket, hot soup, and half her paycheck, then disappeared without ever asking for anything in return. And now, her face was staring back at him. He looked up at the girl. "What's your name?" "Hope," she whispered. The irony nearly knocked the wind out of him. "Your mother?" he asked gently. "Was her name Marcy?" Hope nodded. "She got sick. Real sick. And then, she didn't wake up. I was in the shelter. Then they closed it last week. So I walked. I didn't know where to go, just kept walking." Calvin could barely speak. His mind raced. How could the woman who once saved him be gone, and how could the world be cruel enough to abandon her child? The waiter brought the sandwich, wrapped neatly with a side of fries and a chocolate milk. Hope's eyes widened as she clutched it like treasure. She didn't eat right away. She just held it. "Is it okay?" she asked, looking up at Calvin like she wasn't sure she was allowed. "It's more than okay," he said. "You earned that 10 times over, long before today." She looked confused. "But I didn't do anything." "You don't remember," he said softly. "But your mom saved a stranger once. That stranger was me." Hope stared at him. "You knew her?" He nodded. "I owe her everything. And now, I think I owe you too." A couple sitting nearby leaned in to listen. Another man behind them stopped pretending to read his newspaper. The diner had gone quiet again. Everyone could feel something bigger was happening. Calvin took a deep breath, then reached for his wallet. But what he pulled out wasn't cash. It was a card, and the keys to his apartment. "You don't have to walk alone anymore," he said. "Not while I'm still breathing." Hope stared at the keys, unsure if it was some kind of test. She gripped the sandwich tighter, her small arms tense. Calvin didn't rush her. He placed the keys on the table gently. "You don't have to decide anything now. I just want you to know I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked fast, trying to be tough. "You really knew my mom?" He nodded. She had this tired laugh, like she'd been through a lot but still believed people were good. Hope's lips trembled. "She used to hum this little tune when it rained." Calvin smiled faintly. "I remember. She hummed it while she wrapped my feet in towels and scolded me for not taking care of myself. She didn't even know my name." "She would have liked you," Hope whispered. "She already did." The diner manager came over quietly. "Sir, if there's anything we can do—" Calvin turned to him. "I'd like to pay for every meal that child has here, every day, no limits, and I'll cover her room at the inn across the street until we figure something more permanent." The manager blinked, then nodded. "Consider it done." But Hope shook her head. "What if they take me away again?" Calvin leaned in. "They won't. Not this time. I'm putting my name on everything. Guardianship, protection, whatever it takes. Your mom gave me my life back. Now it's my turn to return that favor." Someone clapped near the window, then another. The entire diner, full of strangers, began to applaud. Hope shrank back, startled. "Why are they clapping?" she asked. Calvin smiled, brushing her soaked hair back gently. "Because they just watched a little girl teach the rest of us what it means to give, even when you've got nothing left." The applause faded slowly, replaced by quiet conversations and tearful glances. But at that corner table, something had shifted forever. Hope sat a little straighter now. She picked up a fry with careful fingers, as if learning what it meant to eat without guilt. Calvin stayed beside her, not hovering, just present, solid, like a man finally anchoring a part of himself that had drifted for years. Later that evening, he walked her across the street to the small inn. Room 204. Warm sheets, clean clothes laid out, and a little note on the pillow that said, "You're safe here." Hope turned in the doorway. "Is this really okay?" Calvin nodded. "You're not charity, Hope. You're a promise I never got the chance to keep until now." She hesitated, then ran up and hugged him tight, fast, then pulled back before she could cry again. "Do you think my mom would be proud?" His voice cracked as he answered. "She already is." In the weeks that followed, Calvin made everything official: guardianship, school enrollment, even therapy. Not because she asked, but because he wanted her to never feel small again. The story made headlines. Girl offers coins for food, stranger recognizes her mother, adopts her on the spot. But Calvin never gave interviews. He didn't want fame. He just wanted her to have tomorrows. And months later, when Hope was assigned a school project about heroes, she stood at the front of the class holding a drawing of a diner, a sandwich, and a man in a wrinkled blazer. "My hero," she said, "didn't just give me food. He gave me someone who stayed." The screen faded to black, and the final words appeared. She offered coins and found something priceless